Hello, everyone, and welcome to the INTEGRIM InSum joint webinar on SenSaaS, an e-business suite payables automation solution. In this webinar, we want to show you how SenSaaS can help you reduce per invoice processing costs, manual data entry, invoice processing time. SenSaaS has provided these advantages to many customers already, and it has recently been made compatible with Oracle e-business suite thanks to an integration provided by InSum. Hence the INTEGRIM InSum partnership, and that's why we're really excited to present it to you today. So I'll start by introducing our speakers, and I'll ask them to turn on their cameras as I present. Our first speaker is Sylvain Martel. He is InSum's e-business suite Apex practice director and Oracle ACE. Sylvain makes organizations more efficient by streamlining ERP business processes with Oracle Apex custom applications. And as EBS Apex Practice Director at InSum, his goal is to boost productivity, expand capabilities, and enhance the execution of business processes. He specializes in Oracle e-business suite and Fusion Applications Cloud and can help reduce gaps and white space for any process.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Sylvain. And our second presenter today is the President and CTO of INTEGRIM, André Denis. André leads projects implementation in addition to all activities related to innovation, research, and development. Drawing from a broad range of experience in the implementation of solutions for capture, process automation, ECM, and with a deep understanding of how organizations work, André is a recognized expert in the design and architecture of document management and automation solutions. And now I will hand the presentation over to you, gentlemen. And everyone, have a great webinar.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Mark. I'll start off by saying that right now, with the actual pandemic situation, digital transformation is a critical element of your business continuity. And we'd like to be able to introduce how digital transformation compounded with the automation of document extraction and classification of invoices can be brought to your organization and complement your ERP and essentially be able to see how we can bring a critical process of doing document conversion of semi-structured or unstructured content to provide structured transactions inside your ERP system in the quickest way and the easiest way at the lowest price point that you can actually get to. So essentially, this is why we've teamed up with the expertise of InSum with their EBS expertise to actually bridge what we've been doing for so many years in doing document classification and extraction that relies on the leading edge potential of OCR technology that will be able to reduce the time to actually get unstructured content into structured content over to the system. And this is what SenSaaS has been doing, and this is why we've teamed up again with the expertise of EBS to bridge the gap and create this automated solution. Think of digital transformation as a smart mailroom application that will be able to decipher what information you're receiving and where this information should be going into in terms of getting all the traction for people to operate from that standpoint. So they actually get direct access to the information to the relevant person at the right role at the right time automatically without actually having to sort out and to weed out any information prior to being able to send this information over to the relevant parties. We'll be able to see how we can actually automate this in a straight-through fashion and actually complement a lot of the benefits of this technology. So how do we manage this? Essentially, AP automation is to complement your existing ERP. We're not looking to extract or to replace any of the business processes, the business rules, or the actual authority matrix that lies into your current ERP setup. We're only looking to actually help out in bringing this content over to your system in the simplest and the cheapest way possible to actually reduce the tasks that are typically low value. So we'll be able to maximize the straight-through potential of this system. So whereby we'll be using the referential data to match against the information that we'll extract from the invoice to determine where this information should go, and if possible, straight into your system without any intervention on your end. This will actually minimize obviously the cost of processing, as well as enabling this in a shorter cycle of time to actually put this system through. All of this will go through the standardized application validation rules and controls that would need to be put together in order to allow for straight-through processing. Obviously, we'll be putting those rules to work for your system in making sure that this actually follows the right path in the system. All of this is to make sure that we can optimize and bring you to the best-in-class scenario for your AP automation within the actual technology capabilities and use case in your situation. So 84% has been found in the latest polls of organizations are looking to allow for remote work to actually happen with the pandemic situation. So this is obviously a great leeway to actually get into the automation platform and the digital transformation bandwagon, so that we can actually maximize the efficiency of being able to do remote work from digital content in a structured, within the compliance and the governance of your business processes, and allowing for people to actually operate on a digital content rather than analog, paper-based, or information that may not be exactly structured and secured within your operations. So this is, again, a reflection of the pandemic situation, and we need to be able to adjust for this scenario leading into your business process automation. So how do we do that? Essentially by leveraging digital content, obviously making sure that we can carry that information inside your business process, making sure that we apply all the right information structure in terms of making sure that this content is, again, your legal proof, as it will be your legal support of information leading in to your operation to actually conduct your continuity within the digital world. Obviously, this will save time and cost, obviously, for your operations, as we'll be reducing a lot of the human efforts required to lead those transactions inside your system. Enhancing controls and approval, who gets to see what and when, making sure that all the right people involved in the actual business process will get to see the right information at the right time and be able to apply their approvals and their controls over that process. We'll be able to improve your access to your shared data. Obviously, maybe today you're sharing drives of information inside your business process where people can actually get access to content that they may not typically would have secured access to. So this will make sure that we can actually apply who gets to see what, and actually control the auditing of who did see what and what in your business process as it actually goes in. And again, this is to be able to bring you the full AP automation potential, and making sure that you can capture this potential by leveraging all these add-ons to your current setup. So 38% of organizations have as their number one priority to reduce actual manual tasks and reduce and eliminate paper, if at all possible, from their current processes. So this is the number one item on the list of priorities for those organizations polled in a recent survey. So again, good potential in how to actually do this, and what we can expect out of the AP transformation is obviously to reduce your turnaround time. So we can certainly reduce the time of loading those transactions inside your system by a significant factor. We've had customers that's actually went on from a 13, 14, 15 days turnaround over a processing time less than a 24-hour period, which enabled them to change the business model of how they actually process their invoices, and now they can go back to their suppliers and actually change the actual relationship of the actual early payment discount strategies that they can apply for those processing. So again, good potential in reducing the actual time to process and the cycle time to actually load those transactions inside the ERP. get relevant access to the right information at the right time to guide the decision making. So if you have a PO invoice that is not matched, that has not been matched to your system, we can provide you the PO information as well as the actual reception information with the invoice all in the same viewing area. So you can actually get all the information relevant for you to take your decision, adjust and correct any of those exceptions easily with a single area. Again, compounded with the fact that we have bridged the information with the EBS platform. So we have all of this living inside a single area for you to take your decisions forward. Obviously, compliance governance is a key element. So making sure that anything that actually happens in the process prior to your ERP is logged, traced, and is auditable for you to understand who did what and when in the actual process. Will eliminate a lot of the low value tasks, handling documents coming in through email that needs to be either sent out or printed out or exported to a shared folder. All of these tasks will be reduced to nothing, because obviously we'll be taking on the actual management of those that onboarding of content inside your system. The key point here is to be able to bring your key elements to work on actual cases whereby they are required to work. So basically all the knowledge that they have within the actual AP operation will be able to put to work and maximize the efficiency of your employees working on those cases, and we'll be able to report back on a lot of metrics. So they'll be able to refine and to go to the root cause time after time to eliminate those errors or those exceptions, as they have more time to concentrate on fixing those errors and basically be able to have a lot more traction in a global AP automation process. So this brings me to the benefit of putting this together and bridging actually the SenSaaS expertise in document extraction, classification, and transformation, and combining that with the EBS expertise that INSEM has to actually bring you a lot of the benefits of AP automation inside this scenario. So we'll be able to reduce your processing costs as well as the cycle time to go get those invoices processed in your system, as well as reduce a huge portion of your manual data entry costs, as we'll be doing a lot of the heavy lifting of getting that unstructured or structured or semi-structured content into your system readily and available for this. So this is a great place to actually bring you the next speaker, which is Sylvain, who will be able to bring a lot more details to this bridge and show you exactly all the benefits that we can bring together with the SenSaaS bridge for EBS. So I'll turn it over to Sylvain.
Thank you, André. Thank you very much. That was a very good presentation in terms of the business case. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. So if you bear with me for a second here, I'm going to share that screen right now and start my presentation. So hopefully you see the continuity of that presentation right now. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming to this webinar, and from wherever you are in the world, I hope you stay safe in this uncertain times. Here in Montreal, we're doing fairly good. It's winter, so hopefully we can see spring soon. But everyone out there, please stay safe. So as André was describing the reason why you should probably go ahead with AP automation, I have a little story for you. I was just talking to a company, a local company here, and I was asking them. It's a manufacturing company, and I was asking them how things were in terms of working in the office and whatnot, because of sanitary guidelines. You cannot show up at the office and whatnot. And we were talking obviously about this AP automation process, and he says, you know what? If I didn't have that, I don't know how it would turn out, but he says, because I have AP automation, people are working from home. They don't have to come to the office. The invoices are coming in through emails and whatnot. So it's almost like business as usual. And on top of it, they are expanding. It's a Canadian company and expanding in the US. And it's going to add more volume to the processing, the invoice processing that they already have. And because they've already had this AP automation in, they can take the load without adding personnel to process it. So I thought it was a great story. So back to our presentation. My take on the presentation will be a little bit more technical, as you can expect. Andre provided a very good description of all the business processes and the reasons. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how things are done. So at a high level, what you have is you're not receiving from suppliers a piece of paper that is the invoice. Everything is done through emails, and a PDF of the invoice is attached, and that's what SenSaaS is going to be processing. So through this machine learning OCR, it's going to go and extract the data from these invoices. It doesn't have to be of any format specifically. The machine learning is able to understand where the information is and whatnot. So for you, I mean, it's up and running almost immediately. It also validate against EBS some master data. So for example, there will be some exchange of data in relation with your operating unit, your suppliers, your supplier sites, so that a pre-validation can be done directly into SenSaaS for processing that information that it sees. Then there's going to be some human validation to reach 100% accuracy, and we'll see that a little bit more in detail in the next graph. But it's not only software; it's really people looking at it and making sure that what has been extracted is real. Then securely pushes the information to our bridge, to our Apex application that will bridge with EBS. Then, of course, it comes to the point where you have a clerk that will monitor the invoice if there's any issues, and the bridge and the application will submit the invoice into EBS, and then the payment of that process, or the regular payment process that you all have in place, will occur. All that information and all that setup is fully integrated with EBS. R12, it can also be 11i, but obviously more organization are R12.1 or 12.2. I know there's a big push of going to 12.2, so all this is totally compliant. And because of the nature of the multi-org, multi-operating unit of R12, this can be used in shared services as well. So if you provide the right configuration in EBS to set up your security profile, provide responsibilities with multiple operating unit access, then you can have a shared service that will only be looking at the invoices that they're supposed to. So that makes it a great option for larger organization. So in a little bit more detail, what I can tell you about this AP automation process, is it usually starts with, from an EBS purchasing clerk sending a PO to a supplier. It's not mandatory, as we all know. We can just call someone, say, you need to send me these goods or these items or what have you. But typically a PO would be issued. Of course, supplier would fulfill that demand, send you the goods or the services, because it could be services as well. And then after those goods or services have been received, they send the invoice. So how we would structure this for you is that every email address that this supplier sends this invoice is an operating unit. So you know exactly which one would be processed by which operating unit. Then SenSaaS capture this PDF, process it, extract the information, it is validated by a group of people at INTEGRIM, and that's part of the service, because as the name says, SenSaaS is a SaaS application, so there's nothing to install on your premise. It is all the service that is taking care of the invoice processing. And when all the validation has been done, then it's pushed over to the SenSaaS bridge, where an EP clerk can monitor the invoice that have coming in. Maybe there are errors on an issue that the process has found. Then you would essentially work on the exception as opposed to work on the total number of invoices. All the invoices that have been processed properly, extracted properly, just go through without being looked at. So that's the beauty of it. And when the clerk has fixed an error, if any, or maybe there's no error and it just went through, then it goes into EBS, into the regular process of EBS. And if you have a workflow process, as it was mentioned here, an approval process with workflow, maybe you have an AME that is providing a special case, then that would just be part of your regular EBS process. And then, of course, after the people in the payable module have issued the payment or will initiate the payment process, once again, this is all as usual for you. What you avoid doing is entering a bunch of invoices, which are really low value, in fact, and just concentrate on the exception. So essentially, that's what it is. It's a portal that, with the help of SenSaaS, that is doing the heavy lifting of extracting the data, allows you to bridge over to EBS and monitor these invoices that you're going to be processing. And to me, it seems like it's a best of both worlds. Like it allows you to save money. As Andre was saying, you can probably benefit from supplier discount on a more constant basis if you have a 2% 10 days. If your processing time is a day, a couple of hours compared to 4 or 5 days, then you can benefit from discounts, and that's free money essentially. At the same time, you can reduce costs because it's going to take less time for your EP people to process these invoices, and maybe process more invoices, having an opportunity for business expansion with the same personnel that you already have. So to me, that seems like it's the best of both worlds. And in today's world, and who knows what's going to come next, working from home policies, or if you have to comply with sanitary guidelines from government and you can't show up at the office, well, this type of business automation or AP invoice automation will definitely help any organization in that regard. So let's bring out the popcorn and let's go see a demo. So before we do that, actually, before we do the demo, and I think you're seeing right now my screen with an EBS.
Yep, that's the one we see, Sylvain.
Sorry?
That's the one we see, yeah.
Perfect, excellent. Thank you, Matt. I just want to show a couple of things about those invoices. So we have a little demo. We obviously don't have too many invoices, but here are some of the invoices that we'll be processing. So we received these invoices, and so I'm putting that on that screen. As you can imagine, I have 2 screens. I have to go back and forth. So we have all sorts of different invoices that we have received. None of them are really alike one another. They're all different. So SenSaaS reads that information and capture the essential of that information for us to process. So let's put that away for now. So these are our examples. So here we go. And I'm going to move it like this. And here we go. So this is my EBS navigator, and I have, just like any responsibilities that you have, maybe a custom form or what have you, I've included this Apex application part of a navigation menu. So here it is. It is our portal. Now, of course, we're in a demo mode here, so I have nothing, and I'm gonna load some data. So SenSaaS has processed the invoices earlier today that I showed you, and here's the result. So what is that portal tells me here? Well, what we want to do is simplify the work of the clerk. So right in the middle, we want to show exactly what you have to concentrate on, like what are the exceptions. So at the very bottom, let's start with that invoice, is that we have an invoice with an error, and the error is unknown onshore duplicate supplier. So maybe there was somebody in your organization that deactivated a supplier site. That never happens, right? And or some other thing that prevent the SenSaaS to say, I don't see that supplier anymore. Maybe there's something wrong. So the operator would look at that. So we see that it's from GM Voices. So that seems pretty obvious that there was something like that happened. I'm going to see if GM Voices exists. It does exist. Let's see if there's a supplier site. Yes, there is. Okay. So most likely an error in either the address or something that prevented me from capturing the right supplier site for that invoice. At the same time, I can see that invoice that was processed, so I can validate if I want that the numbers are right, and they seem to be right in this case. If I really want to, I can also download this invoice. So if I click on this icon, and I'm gonna show you right here. Sorry, it went on my second screen. So I was downloading my invoice, and it's right there. So if I want to do it properly. So anywho, it's there available for me, and I'm satisfied with that. So I'm gonna apply the changes. And now it's gone from my error list. It's going to be ready for process. And so I have other ones here that are invoice to complete. So what are those? Those are invoices for which I don't have a PO. So I cannot deduct the GL account because it was just maybe a call or it was not a PO. So I'm asked to select a GL account. So here to help me out in this demo, I've chosen to have account aliases, but obviously we can also select accounts from the GL code combination and all the different segments, and that can be configured. So if I go to this next one quickly, so once again, I see my invoice here on the right. I just put my different GL accounts. So let's go do that for the next one, like this. And I'm just going to select the same one. So really, we want to simplify the processing of these invoices. We have also other type of metrics, I guess, where we can see. So if you're interested at looking at, the 2% 10 days, let's say you really want a discount. Well, what you could do is select one of these. So this is an invoice by term. We only have 30 net or 45 net here. But if you select those, you see directly, drill down directly to these invoices with that payment term. So that's another way of expediting the process of your application. Or if you're interested at looking at specific suppliers, because they gave you a great term or for any other reason, then you can do that and drill down as well. So as you're doing this, obviously in the real world, in the background, the portal and the bridge will send these invoices to be processed. Here in this demo, obviously we want to control how things are done. So we're just going to send these invoices to be processed. So let me click on that invoice, process invoice. So what's happening is it sends the invoices to the interface, the public interface that is well known in EBS. So there's no trick about this. And so it just tells us that it was done. So let's see how things are done. So I'm just going to move over here. And if we look for invoices that were done today, we should be able to find a couple. And sure enough, we do. So here are the ones. I don't know if you remember the trading partner or the supplier. So GM stock, GM voices. So GM voices, these are the lines, sure enough, and calculate the taxes. So everything is cool. I can even look at the attachment because we're sending the PDF invoice as well. So if we click on this and open the document, it obviously opened on my other screen. So let me show you right here. So I open up in my Firefox because I had Firefox open. So there it is. So the attachment was brought over with the invoice. And at this point, it's ready to validate or to process for payments or what have you. And you're ready to go. So the flow of the information is very smooth. If any error would occur, of course, the portal would come back here with some other errors. And once again, you would, as a EP clerk, you would process that. You can receive email when the portal receives new invoices to process. So that way it makes it very fluid. You don't have to look at the screen all the time. So that way it just goes into EBS, especially for those that don't need any attention. They just go through EBS without a problem. So I think that's it for my little demonstration, actually. So I think we're ready for some Q&A. So Mac, if you want to take over and look for any questions from the audience, feel free to put it into the Q&A part. That way we can answer your question. We're here for you.
Exactly. That's what I was going to add, Sylvain, is that if you have any questions or if you'd like to see part of the software again, that you want Sylvain to show you a specific area in it again, please feel free, put your questions or comments in the question box, and we'll do our best to answer them. Actually, while we're waiting for people to put in their questions, I do have one question. Sylvain, where would I validate the extracted data? And is it the same information as the PDF invoice that's sent by the supplier?
So, and I'm not sure what that question refers to, but when you look at the detail of what SenSaaS has gave you, you're able to validate the actual image that was received, essentially the PDF, with the data that has been extracted right here, and you see on the left-hand side. So if you wanted to validate that, it would be very easy to just look, compare, and be satisfied with the extract that was already pre-validated in a way by SenSaaS. So I don't. Maybe I'll put André on the spot here a little bit, and maybe André can tell us how that that process works, or maybe a few words about the capture or extraction of data and the human validation that happens in SenSaaS.
There are two types of validation. One is essentially making sure that the recognition engine of the OCR read the right information from the PDF, making sure that it was it was the right invoice date, it was the right amount that was pulled from the subtotal or the total line. And this is essentially the OCR validation. This is all inside the SenSaaS platform and within the boundaries of the actual SaaS operation that we do actually run human validation after the extraction has been performed by the OCR. So this is the first level validation that we do and that we offer that enables us to send data that is proofed. So you don't need to challenge whether it was the right information extracted from the right location on the invoice, and if indeed the OCR did its job properly in reading the information off the invoice. We make sure that we return back 100% proofed data to the process. The second validation is basically rule-based inside the EBS platform. So understanding that this is going to be matched against APO, matched against a vendor list, reception data may be applied as well. So all of these become more of the functional validations that would occur that would be bound with the EBS platform. And this is where essentially you'd be able to work from the actual portal that Sylvain shown us, that where you'd be complementing these validations going forward.
David, we have a question.
Yes.
It is. It requires all invoices to be emailed to us as PDFs. And also, if a supplier mails paper, can we email a scanned PDF to ourselves or SenSaaS's email address?
Very good question. Actually, the PDFs is one mean. We also support JPEG TIFFs or even Office documents that could be Word or Excel renditions of those documents as invoices. So we can manage multiple sources, and the actual email address would be a redirection from your own email address. So you'd be looking to get your vendors to send invoices to a dedicated email address within your organization's email. And this would be routed out to the SenSaaS platform through a redirection that you would program inside your email. So we do not become the final destination for your vendors to address invoices to. You still carry that information inside your own email, but you'd be returning this over as a redirected email over to us.
Okay, because the second part of the question was also, are PDFs stored locally or somewhere else and forever?
These are returned with the actual processing. These are returned to EBS, and they are stored either locally attached to the actual EBS transaction, or could be stored in a vault that would be made actually relevant to the actual transaction inside EBS, whereby you'd be keeping this external to EBS. All of these solutions are viable and potentially available for you, depending on where you'd like the final storage of those PDFs to actually be kept.
Okay, and a final question from the same participant. Can imported fields be customized if we use special fields on an invoice for other things?
You'd be able to actually add fields to the portal platform, whereby you'd be able to add instructions or additional content to your transactions before you would post it to EBS. If that information is not structured in email in the actual PDF invoice that you receive. So if indeed you need to add new instructions to that invoice, that would be part of the portal to expose these fields over to EBS.
Yeah. And just to complement on that answer, so I imagine, or I suspect that you might be talking about some descriptive flex fields. So yes, if there's some customization you want to add and send some info through DFF, that's totally feasible, and when we can adapt to that requirement.
Okay, and we have another question. Is the rendering engine proprietary, or can Apex Office Print or other types of solutions be used in the company already if, for example, the company has an AOP license?
I'm not sure, and I would like to get a little bit more context on this, because AOP is an engine, a tool to generate documents that essentially brings a template and data from Oracle, merge them into a final document. Where here it's kind of the opposite. We have a document, we extract the info out of the document, and then we process that information through. So I'm not sure where it would come into play. And on the top of my head, I would say AOP is not part of this process, because the goal of AOP is to generate documents. So maybe I misunderstand the question or the context, but if I do, feel free to send me an email, and that way we can exchange on that. But on the top of my head, I would say that AOP and SenSaaS are two different things.
Sure. I mean, we can go back and get clarification on that question.
Absolutely.
I have another question. How can you prevent that an invoice be processed before the goods are actually delivered in the expected condition?
That's a very good question, and I totally forgot to mention that during the demo. What's happening is the bridge, the portal, is actually looking at the receipts for, and of course on PO related invoices. So if you get and I'm sure it happened before, you get the invoice before you actually got the goods, and that can happen. So when the invoice comes in, the portal looks at the receipts, and in the case where it's not received yet, then it would just save the invoice in a kind of a staging area, if you want, and at every some sort of cycle would validate that the receipt has been received, and when the receipts are there, then would invoice against the receipt. So you might receive a partial item, and it's only 5 out of 10, so only 5 would go through at that time. So it validates against the receipts that you have confirmed in EBS.
Great. Another question. Is there a validation to detect duplicate invoices and prevent processing twice?
I think this is a joint answer. So I'm wondering if André has something to say about that.
Well, we typically do our end in the actual OCR. We can actually match against, I would say we triangulate between a few fields. So invoice date, invoice number, supplier. We could add in the amount as fields that we would actually look up for previous entries and push this as a potential suspect duplicate. And we would not actually remove that invoice from the processing queue, but we would push it out to the portal as a suspected duplicate for review. Obviously, sometimes it does occur that you receive invoices with the same information from a vendor. That would be invoice number, date, and amounts, and they could be completely legitimate to process. But this would be sent out as a potential duplicate. Obviously, this would need to be validated in the EBS entry point, and this is the second portion of the answer that Sylvain can clarify.
Exactly, and you're right. The SenSaaS bridge for EBS would see this invoice, look at if that invoice was previously processed, and if it is, then it would generate an error. If by some miracle it goes by that gate and you pass the invoice into the EBS API, the EBS API will capture that as well, because the rules are, the same supplier site, actually operating unit, supplier site, and invoice number are rejected if they are the same. So you essentially have 3 barriers where that situation would be captured. So very unlikely it goes to the final step, but technically speaking, at every step it would be captured, and technically speaking, it would never go into EBS to be processed.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, it seems that we've come to the end of the questions. So I guess this concludes our presentation for today. Just want to make sure there are no last stragglers coming in at the very last second here. No, okay. So this concludes our presentation for today. And as always, a recording of this session will be made available to you, and we'll send you the link. And if you have any additional questions, like on your screen, you can see, you can contact us at info@insum.ca or info@integrim.com. You can also, and I'm going to share my screen here, you can also contact either
Want to go ahead and share your screen? I'll stop.
yeah.
I'll stop the sharing for mine.
Okay, you can either contact Sylvain at smartel@insum.ca or Mr. or Denis at integrim.com, Denis at integrim.com. And of course, you can also answer any of the emails that we've sent you in the invitations and the reminders. So that's it. We thank you very much for your attention, and we hope that this has answered some of your questions on the SenSaaS solution. And feel free to reach out to us at any time. So thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you to our presenters as well. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.